make sure that you're achieving more. You got achieving your lives. It's really impactful to do.
Yeah, and they're those moments that make you good at work.
Sit by the river.
We were talking the other day, like there's like female entrepreneurs, like there's nowhere near enough, or like because you speak to guys in business and it sounds funny, but like they're almost overconfident. You're like, you shouldn't be doing this, but you are, because you just like have an ego and are overconfident.
Yeah.
And then the girls, I find, like we employ like a lot of girls ourselves, are like the harder workers. Yeah. Like don't make as many excuses, would never want to take a day off. And I'm like, you almost have to reinforce like, oh, you can like relax. Like you don't have to go as like hard as you are. Whereas guys, like the first one to like, I don't know, more so I've observed, will make an excuse, I can't come in, this or whatever. And then girls almost like limit themselves into entering into business because like it's not something they're comfortable with or it's too scary. But I'm like, you'd be way better at this. Like you're way more organized. You're way more across everything that's going on than like your male counterparts.
I think that's just general though. Like you were saying in the workplace, I know I do a lot of work with like Ernst & Young and stuff. And that's, you know, that top tier accounting is a very male dominated space.
Yep.
And even EY say when it comes down to promotions and people putting their hand up and moving forward, you know, women just don't for some reason.
Yeah.
I think it's a confidence thing. And I look, I can even relate back to my years in IT. Look, I just got into IT in the tech space at just the right time. It was like when social media was first emerging, you know, if you bloody knew anything about social media, like you were a consultant or an expert. And when I entered IT, it was the same thing. And as a result, I found myself as this IT contractor earning tons of money. But you know, I'd turn up every day for work like an hour early. And like I wouldn't leave like till an hour after my shift had ended. Because, you know, I just couldn't believe that I was getting paid so much, and I couldn't believe I had this job. And I you know, like I felt like a fraud, and I felt like, shit, people are going to find me out at any moment.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And then they're going to tell me not to come back. But I just couldn't believe it. And it went on like that for years. And as much as I think that's a negative, when I look back now, I think that's actually an awesome thing. Because, you know, it made me work harder. It made me work smarter. It made me, just like not give up. And it made me rock up every day and like put 110% effort in. It was like no excuses. And I think, you know, if you translate that into owning your own business, that's what it's about, hey? It is about rocking up and putting the hard yards in and not quitting. It's like, you know, it's not about being the smartest person. It's just about never giving up, like never quitting. And I think that's what those years
gave you.
Yeah, totally.
And I totally think that's a huge start of getting in, is like the barrier to entry can be too high. Maybe like you didn't have female counterparts who were earning as much money as you at the time. So you're kind of in your own world. Whereas like male culture, like maybe in high sales, they're all bragging about what they're earning and I should be earning more, and they're the quickest to ask for more. Whereas kind of females will head down, work through, but then get that experience, which will like compound.
Yeah, totally. Look, the environment I worked in was all male.
Yeah.
When I was in that space. And I think I was like really fortunate because it was in the UK and like for Morgan Stanley, Shell and the BBC. So amazing companies with amazing cultures. And yeah, just right time, right place. I just got like heaps of opportunity. And if anything, I probably got like positively discriminated against because I was female, and I just rode that wave, rode it as hard as I could.
You'll be like, yeah, I'll show you, I can do it. No one else is here.
Yeah. I always remember, I think it was probably like Richard Branson or somebody I'd seen in passing had said, you know, if you get presented with an opportunity, doesn't matter what it is or what people are asking you to do, just say yes and figure out that shit later. And I think that's the best thing you can do. It's like,
I agree. Like I've followed that, and I think where the balance is like caring about your reputation, because some people will say yes to something for the money, if you will, and then when that comes time to do the work, they were never set out to do the work. But I agree. Like when we started our business, I took on some projects that I knew were a bit uncomfortable, but we just made them work because we had to. And I don't think we made any money on them, but I knew the experience would be so valuable, like a case study, refer back to previous levels of work we'd done. But I had every intention of finishing it even from the start. It wasn't a case of like, If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. At least I got paid. It was like I'm going to make this work. I don't know how, but I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, and I'm almost always amazed as well. Like, say if you've got a new project or a new venture, I think, like, if you reach out to people, whether they're mentors in the same industry or somebody that can help you, it's amazing that if you just reach out to people and go, hey, can I shout you a coffee or can I shout you lunch and just pick your brains for half an hour? The amount of people who'll just come back to you and go, yeah, sure. Early days at Brazilian Beauty, I was at an event and there was a guy there called Tom Potter. And Tom Potter was the founder of Eagle Boys Pizza.
Oh, really?
And this was like years ago when Eagle Boys was like in their heyday. You know, they were everywhere before they got smashed by Domino's. And Tom Potter did sell out before that.
Thank God.
Yeah. But like, you know, I was finding my way and bumped into Tom Potter and said, like, you know, I'd love you to like help me out or do whatever. He like met up with me a few times for lunch and then he invited me round to his house for this like 1-day strategy session and did all this amazing stuff for me and expected nothing in return. It wasn't like, oh, I want to sign you up for a mentoring program or do anything. It was just like, no, I just want to help you and see you do well. So there are so many people out there willing to help, willing to give. I suppose it's all just about pitching it right.
Well, that's like this podcast. That's what we've learned because the reason why we started, because we were listening to podcasts and besides Joe Rogan, we didn't really have any local podcasts that we were super enthusiastic about.
Yeah.
So then we started reaching out to guests and we were like, wow, like, is this a bit too easy? Like people were so welcome to come on and we've only just started and that's why it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah.
So how do
but I think people forget to ask. A lot of people don't ask for things. Oh, no, they wouldn't be interested. You know, why would they want to be interested in talking to me? I won't even bother. And then they just carry on their merry way. And it's like, how many opportunities have you missed out just because you didn't ask? And I don't know whether it's the sales side of things that you have to ask for everything to do your job to meet KPIs. And maybe that's why we find it easier. But I was really interested in understanding your upbringing because like you seem pretty tough and you've achieved a lot. So what was that like growing up in the UK did you grow up in Liverpool and finishing school early and stuff?
Yeah, I grew up in a place called Chester, which is in between Liverpool and Manchester. So 25 minutes from Anfield in Liverpool and about 40 minutes from Old Trafford in Manchester. Hate Manchester United. Fans hate them. So I'm just, crazy Liverpool supporter hooligan. So my family love Liverpool Football Club. It's part of me. It's like a religion for our family. We love the team. We love everything about it. It brings our family together in so many ways. Life was pretty interesting and kind of tough growing up, I suppose. But that was the rough and tumble nature, I suppose, of the majority of people who grew up in the UK at that time. We weren't politically correct and in any way, shape or form. When I was growing up, though, I always thought I was going to be like a lawyer or a barrister. I had like this vision that that's what I was going to do. And my dad owned his own business and it was called Interport Paper Company. And he later sold that company out to a bigger company called UK Waste. And my mum is actually deaf. So my mum was born deaf. Pretty much like 90% deaf. She went to a residential deaf school. But my mum is like the best cook in the world and the best gardener. My mum has never had a job in her life.
Really?
So really interesting family dynamic, dad kind of entrepreneurial, mum kind of stay at home. And as I was growing up and even throughout my 20s, I'd always think, I'm just like my dad. Just like my dad. I'm like that entrepreneurial thing. And now as I've got a bit older, I kind of aspire to be more like my mum, kind, compassionate. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, that kind of thing. So my dad died when I was 14, which massively changed my life. And as a result, I ended up leaving school when I was 16. So that kind of changed the world. Fortunately, my dad had been a contractor to Shell UK Limited, so managed to get myself a job on the call board at Shell Stanlow. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. That's how old I am. just to give you guys a heads up. So worked for Shell, and computers had just started coming into the workplace. They were literally implementing Windows 3.1. That's how long ago it was. Anyway, this threw chaos into the workplace, and Shell were kind of identifying people who had computer skills. And because we'd had a Commodore 64 at home, I kind of met the criteria for somebody who might be suitable for training in that area. So yeah, just really went on a journey then with Shell, as initially just as a trainer, Microsoft certified trainer, and went on to be a Novell NetWare engineer, Microsoft certified server engineer, and a Microsoft network architecture expert. So it was a pretty long journey, and mostly through contracts.
Yeah, right.
But it was
and do you think,
cool.
like, because Tom didn't finish school, I got my grade 12 certificate, but sort of did it in another way. Do you think like education is essential, or do you think it can sort of give you a head start when you do leave school earlier and get into the working life?
I don't know. I reckon it all comes down to attitude, right? Whether you've got education or if you don't, or if you're willing to learn and put yourself out there. Like I've seen plenty of people who've gone to uni and have got amazing degrees and can't get jobs. I've also seen a lot of amazing people who go to uni and do amazing things. I don't know. I think it just comes down to life, circumstance, opportunity, and whether you take that opportunity or not. And, you know, for me, if an opportunity is put in front of me, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to deliver well on that yes. But having said that as well, I think it's also important to say no to some opportunities if they don't meet your goals and where you want to be.
So did you see leaving school as like a setback, or it kind of like encouraged you to start and get kind of into the workforce? Like, was it kind of like a kick up the butt, or you're kind of like, oh, I'm just not really interested?
So when we say leaving school, I actually got expelled from school.
Very different.
What for?
For like not hitting one of my teachers, but having a scuffle with one of my teachers.
With one of your teachers?
Yeah. How would they describe it?
Yeah. I was upset at the time, you know, like my dad had passed away. My mum had had these health issues, and I was like due in for this home ec exam, this cooking exam, and I was running late because, you know, my mum had to go and see a doctor, and this teacher was just paying me out. And in the end, I just, you know, pushed her and used the F word. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Of course.
Yeah, so I just told her to fuck off. Yeah, and that you know, yeah.
So were you, I guess, because like you obviously weren't like leaving school with a direction. How like long after leaving did you pick up the job and start to kind of go, all right, I'm going to show them kind of, I guess, like, was that like the driving force? You're like, I'm going to prove everyone else wrong?
Look, to be honest, it just kind of happened. I think I just went to, you know, some kind of careers advisor, and they were like, oh, there's an opportunity at Shell. So Shell Stanlow is down the road from, or used to be, it's now changed its name, from Chester. It was, used to employ 5,000 people. It's like a massive oil refinery, and they've got a research center there. It was home of the Shell Ferrari team for years. So it's a pretty bloody cool place to work. So I was just lucky to get a job opportunity there. And as I said, it was on the call board, answering calls until they said, hey, you know, you could do this other stuff. And I put my hands up and said, let's do it.
So what age did you leave, or what year did you leave the UK for Australia, and why like the change, I guess?
Yeah. So my ex-husband was an Aussie, met him in the UK. We used to come back. He's from Melbourne. So we used to come back to Australia frequently. And this was like years ago, even before the internet was like super widespread. So I was living in London at the time, and I'd go to Melbourne, and everybody was like wearing stonewashed jeans and like listening to like really shit music. And I was like, oh my God, I could like never, ever live in Australia. Anyway, so after I had my kids as well when I was pretty young. So my kids are 27 and 28 at the moment, and I have a granddaughter, Bonnie, who's adorable. So my kids are older than you guys.
Yeah, I'm really struggling. Like,
and you look this good.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
Okay, let's talk beauty treatments later.
Yeah. Wow.
So moved to Australia when I was, I think, 28 and lived in Melbourne and loved living in Melbourne. And I actually thought, because of my crazy, awesome family in the UK, that I'd really miss the UK and I'd really want to go back there. That even though I moved over, I was like, oh, I'll probably be home soon, guys, you know. Don't know how many pairs of stonewashed jeans I can wear or whatever. And so anyway, ended up moving over and loved it. Loved the freedom, I think. Loved being, even though I love my family, I love being free of them. And I don't know, it was like a new adventure. I think a new life, new opportunities. I can remember, I love sport. So I remember going to the MCG for the first time and seeing Aussie rules for the first time, and all my ex-husband's partners' wives saying, God, you don't want to go and watch the footy. It's so boring. It's so this. Oh, God, you're going to hate it. Just remember going to the footy, having loads of beers. And
It is so good.
and checking out the AFL players. I was like, man, it's like going to watch the Rippers. It's like the female version of that. It's like, how hot are they? They're wearing hot pants and like singlets. Why do you guys not like this? It's awesome. So I think once I'd found AFL, that helped, you know, fill the sporting gap from Liverpool. But I'm a long-suffering D's supporters. Do you guys follow AFL?
I went to my first Lions game on the weekend, and then we've had one down in Melbourne. So I'm getting into it. But I think watching it there live is just an incredible experience as opposed to TV. Like, you can see so much and everyone's so passionate, whether it's like a 6-year-old kid or a grandma, they're listening to it on their radio and they're just like throwing so much chat. And you go to rugby union that I grew up with and everyone's very conservative and having a few drinks and stuff. But AFL's loose.
Yeah,
It's wild. I think it's awesome. Tom's not a very big sporting fan. He doesn't really get into much sport.
I never really I kind of miss it. Maybe I played it and I sucked at it. So I just hated it because of that. And then I was like, I'm going to put my attention elsewhere. But yeah, I've just never really, I appreciate sport, but I just don't pay attention to it at all.
Yeah.
I can appreciate the level of dedication. Like, my brother's like in the raw for soccer and he's only 17 and he's like obsessed. But him and I just don't chat about sport.
Yeah, you see, I just love the camaraderie that comes with sport, like the going for the one team, like the focus. I love like the singing, the chanting. I just love like the whole theatre of it.
Did you play sport?
Yeah, I actually still do play a little bit of tennis.
Yep.
So I was like Cheshire Schoolgirl champion tennis player. So I love playing tennis.
And do you think sport, obviously that competitive edge goes into business and all other areas because you have to be disciplined. If you're not doing your fitness or, you know, practicing your shots, it'll show up on the court.
Yeah.
You can't hide.
Yeah.
When it's just you.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know, I think tennis is a good sport because it relates to other things in that you're only as good as your next shot. You know, when you've done a crap shot or whatever, you need to leave it behind you and just move on and smash on.
Do you think Novak was hard done by?
Oh, yeah, I actually do think he was because I saw that footage and he just...
Pretty sad.
He didn't mean to do it, right?
I think that's like the rules and they get really particular.
Yeah, but what's the Aussie guy's name? He's not mine.
He's so funny.
Yeah, I love him. Kyrgios.
Kyrgios.
Yeah. So, and Kyrgios was so right because Kyrgios was like, if that was me,
I'd be banned for years.
Yeah, and he would have been.
Yeah.
But I love Kyrgios. Have you seen Kyrgios play?
Yeah, not in person.
I've seen him play live. He is amazing. He played here last year in Brisbane. But seriously, have you ever watched tennis?
I haven't watched him play, but I've seen I've watched more of his interviews than I have his sport because his interviews are more interesting to me than him playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, when the Brisbane International's next on, if you can see like some of the top players, go and watch. It's like pretty amazing.
Well, it's pretty intimate because the stadiums are really small as well, aren't they? Compared to...
You can hear them talk, everything. It's not like the NRL where you don't really know what's going on the field. But yeah, you can hear every conversation, what they're saying to the ref.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it's awesome. You should give it a go. Maybe we can convert you.
I keep hearing this. Maybe. I'm open to new things.
He dresses like he's good at sport, but he never gets into it. He's got his tennis shoes on. Yeah. Trains hard. Pick up a racket,
keep
mate.
the act up.
Yeah, that's right.
Back on topic. So when did you move to Brisbane? Like, I'm just so curious about the start of your business because like I'm only 4 years in now In the first 2 years, or maybe it was just me, I think I made it harder than anyone else. I was like, it's only now is it starting to make sense and feel easier and like I'm making like leaps and bounds. But those first 2 years, I was Uber driving on the weekend just to pay a wage because I couldn't afford to pay myself. I was trying to hire staff to manage all the work we had coming in. I was trying to like keep customers happy while managing that and this other thing. I was just so stretched out. And when other people do it, it just amazes me, especially to your level, because I'm like, oh, I've still got so far to go. Like it's making more sense now, but just like I'm so interested in the start, like how you got the start, how you kind of got through those first few years.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose even though I wasn't from a beauty background, I had a little bit of a background in that my ex-husband was a dentist. So he used to own a few different dental surgeries in London. And so, look, moved over to Australia. Him and I ended up breaking up. So I was like, holy shit, I've got two options right now. I can keep working as an IT contractor, and working as an IT contractor in Australia meant me probably going to work for Macquarie or something like that to get, you know, the level of remuneration that I was used to. Or I was like, screw it, I can give it a go at opening my own business.
And this is with 2 young kids.
Yeah. So I kind of looked around at different industries and different things, and I thought, screw it, I'm going to give it a go now, because worst case scenario is I just have to go and get a job in IT.
On the job. Yeah.
So what I did is I looked around, and I wanted like minimal capital outlay at that time. So, and the Brazilian wax was pretty taboo then. We're talking like 16 years ago. Nobody used to advertise it. Even B105 as Hit 105 were there. When I contacted them and said, hey, can I put a radio ad out for Brazilian waxing? They were like, not sure
Very
about
hush,
that.
like it was.
Not sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like only porn stars have that done. It's like, honest to God, that was the thing. But it was good, right? Because the Brazilian wax was taboo. I found this location in New Farm that was pretty much already fitted out to be a beauty clinic, because it did used to be a dentist. And I thought, right, I've got this amount of money. I'm going to put this in, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, worst case scenario is I go back and work in IT. That's what I need to do. But the driver for me at that time, with my kids being younger, was how am I going to like support them, pay their school fees, and do all of those things. So, you know, in my heart, it was very much like I'm building this for my kids. And I know that one of you guys have got kids.
Yeah,
You've got kids. You've got 2 kids, right? When you have kids, it just changes your life, right? And you just do anything for them, and it doesn't matter what age they are. Like you give them anything, and I don't know. For me, that's what drives me forward all the time. And I know it sound a bit cliche or whatever, but yeah, like I just want to do everything and build everything I can, because my children are my legacy. Anyway, so set up that first place in New Farm, and like any new business owner, you know, kind of got the place ready, got it all spruced up, looking pretty, and opened the door, hired a team, and put all the product in place. And on day 1, opened the doors, 0 clients. Day 2, open the doors, 0 clients.
Terrifying.
Had you done any marketing, or did you just open the store?
I just opened the store, done a little bit of marketing, but nothing hardcore. But I did have the radio thing, you know, that I was planning, and I was waiting on their approval. The approval came through, and I thought, look, I really need to generate like some serious revenue here. So really leveraged the fact that the Brazilian wax was taboo, did a big opening offer, launched these radio ads. Phones went mad, because that's how people transacted then, right? Everyone was calling and walking in and booking, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Yeah, we're onto something. And then the best thing happened. We got like tons and tons and tons of negative PR. So, you know, people writing all these newspaper articles saying, you know, what's this all about, and talking negatively about the service. All that did was drive more people in. You know, that saying that there's no such thing as bad advertising certainly rang true. So as people then were coming in through the front door, you know, we were providing these services, and they, to be 100% honest, the service wasn't as good as it could have been. So we then, you know, I then started looking at the business metrics, and I suppose that's where the IT background comes in, right? You know, when you're looking at your KPIs, how you're going to measure things. And I was like, shit, you know, as fast as people are coming in the front door, they're also not coming back again. So what do we need to do to change that cycle? So worked heavily on that, and then opened another store 6 months later, and one about 5 months after that. So in the space of 18 months, I opened 3 key stores. And look, when I first went into business, all I wanted to do was have a business that didn't rely on me being there 24/7. I just wanted the freedom not to have to go to my kids' school, or not to have to go to work and say to my boss, hey, can I have Friday off? Because it's like the swimming carnival.
Yeah.
Or my kid's not sick. My kid's sick today. I won't be coming into work. I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I just really wanted a business that enabled me to do that. And also I wanted a business that I loved and that I felt passionate about. So I suppose I kind of achieved that in 18 months. And I was happy. Like, you know, the clinics were profitable. Customers were coming in. I wouldn't say it was under control, but it was as under control as a business can be. And yeah, so I suppose that was the early years. And then I had people knocking on the door going, so is this a franchise? And, you know, quickly kind of look up what's franchising about, what's franchise. Well, if it is a franchise, I want to buy a franchise. So I suppose then just went on that franchising journey as a growth model. Franchising journey is an interesting one.
Oh, I can only imagine from what I see from the outside. Yeah. Like setting up the pricing structures, how to, like if the business owner is not committed as well.
Yeah, how do you benefit both parties as well?
I think it's really tricky. I think it's easy to benefit both parties in the early days because franchisees have the use of a brand. You're also teaching them skills that they didn't have before. But I think as the relationship goes on, it gets really hard, right? Because it's kind of a partnership, but it's not a partnership. It's kind of a partnership, but it's a dictatorship because you've got this brand here to protect. And, you know, you're protecting the brand because you're making a promise to your customer that you will give that customer consistency. So, you know, as a franchisor, you're trying to always protect that. And also you're trying to help your franchisees and make them profitable and make the business work for them, but it just doesn't always work.
Is there an education piece on people think, oh, I'll just buy a franchise and I'll be rich?
There is an education piece, and it's challenging, right? Because some people think that buying a franchise is like buying an investment property, and it's not. You know, buying a franchise is buying a business model that you need to work in 24/7. And look, over the years, some of our franchisees have been absolutely amazing and probably in some cases better operators than in our company-owned stores. But from a business perspective, in our particular sector, I feel like franchising is dead, or franchising in its current model. I think it has too many barriers, and I think the relationship is too much of a complex one.
And then you look at the licensee model that CrossFit took up and exploded, and you just pay a monthly or yearly subscription to have CrossFit, and you can be CrossFit whoever, and they provide minimal support because you're just buying the name.
Yeah.
So then there's there's a few different tweaks, but then you look at Fitstop and they're blowing up and they're like in fitness and they're doing franchise models.
Yeah.
So how do you then like GYG and all these other like fast food and known for being franchises, pretty much the only way you build that part of the business. If you had it again, would you change it and just grow slower but own every store?
Potentially with a licensee model or an affiliate model. Because if you're looking from a business perspective, you guys have leases, right, for your tenancies. So when you're in a franchise model, historically, or traditionally you take on the head lease for that location and then you license it to the franchisee. So you've got this really kind of more than married, you've got kind of quite a complex legal arrangement, as well as a franchise agreement that comes over the top of that. And I don't know, it's just too much work. I think you spend, or in my opinion, looking back, you spend more time trying to manage and develop that relationship than you would if you were just out pushing forward. And I think for me, especially moving forward, I want a business that I can scale and scale quickly. And for me, I have obviously the Brazilian Beauty brand, but also the other brand.
Is that why you got into products with Australian Skin Institute?
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't the first reason. The first reason was we were looking for a new product range at Brazilian Beauty. So I kind of surveyed all of our customers and our team members, franchisees, everyone, and said, hey, if you could have any skincare product, what would it look like? So from that feedback, we then built the product range and had lots of feedback from different people along the way. So initially when I bought ASI in, I just imagined that it was going to be a small seller that would sit on the shelf next to a bigger brand. But very quickly the sales just grew and grew.
Yeah, I'm always getting in trouble from Dee for sneaking moisturiser because she can smell it on me at night. It's good stuff.
Don't you love it? It actually is really good stuff. I love it. It's beautiful. I think there's something great and really satisfying about creating a product that people love as well. It's like, I love cooking. I love cooking for my family, my friends, whatever. I love cooking en masse, but there's no better feeling than, when you make something for somebody and they love it and they've benefited from it. I don't know. It's just awesome.
Think the best products come from like abundance. Like you knew you had your kind of stores set up, you had income, and then you were like, geez, there's no real product on the market that does exactly what we're looking for. Let's go create our own one. And the first thought wasn't, how can we get it as cheap as possible and make as much money as possible? It's like, how can we make it as the best as possible? And then comes the sales from there.
Yeah, well, interesting you say that, because to be honest, the first thought was, how do we bring this in? How do people normally do it? And, people normally order 10,000 or 100,000 units and store them in a hot warehouse somewhere. But on that research, I actually met a compounder who was into making all these fresh formulations, and he made them uniquely for people. And I was like, how cool if you could do that and you could not mass produce it, but produce something like that. And everyone was like, nah, you can't do that. And I was like, you kidding? Like, people, supermarkets supply fresh food every single day. What do customers want right now? Customers, if I'm, caring about what I eat and training and working out, why would I want to rub like chemicals and preservatives all over the largest organ of my body? I just wouldn't. So coming back to the product again, it was just like, it was a no-brainer, right? This is the product that I want to use. This is the product that my team want to use. This is hopefully what customers will want as well, and they do. And it's great because we don't have like these, making 200,000 units at a time. We can change the formulations all the time. We can add new peptides. We can constantly make those products better. And from a business perspective, it's brilliant because we're always doing R&D. So you guys know about like R&D.
Yeah, research and design. Yeah.
Development grants and is this an R&D grant right now? This is R&D right now. But like, as a business, why wouldn't you? Because it improves your business, it improves your customer experience, and you're constantly innovating. It's great. It makes like everyone gets in
win-win.
on it. It's
It's
great.
win-win on everyone.
It seems like the newest model, like any business currently that sits on their laurels because they've had it good for a long time for a certain way, if they aren't doing what the customer wants or keeping up to date with things and just kind of rest on what they've already done, the customer can feel it almost. They're like, oh, this product is just not changing or adapting. We kind of avoid those brands because they've just had so much success for so long but haven't tried to kind of keep the customer in focus.
Yeah, that's right. And you're exactly right with brands like that. Or, I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago and they were talking about products and they were like, oh, we bring our product in bulk, so then we can say it's Australian made because we fill it here. And I was just like,
Like
why?
manufacturers that say they get their componentry from everywhere and just assemble it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how about being proud that you can source all your ingredients or the majority of them in Australia, have it manufactured and compounded and everything here in Australia? Like, we should be proud of that.
Especially at the current moment.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be massive.
Like, totally. It's, and most recently with the COVID thing, we developed a hand sanitizer. And I was blown away that we were able to even source our packaging, our bottles here in Australia, have them made here. Every single component of that is made in Australia. And, you know, some people would say, well, why do you care? And it's like, well, you know, we know where our economy is heading. Having Australian jobs right now is really important. So, you know, if I'm a customer and I'm making a choice, and I'm complaining about not having a job or my son not having a job or people around me, it's like, make your choice wisely when you choose off the shelf. You know, support Australian businesses and manufacturers, and, you know, that, I think that's what we need to be doing at this time.
Yeah, 100%. And then what about with female entrepreneurism and making sure that, you know, that's becoming more and more popular? Do you think, how do you increase that, and how do you make it more of a conversation where more women are wanting, because I find the ones that do it, everyone's super supportive.
Yeah.
Like, they really get behind female empowerment and, you know, being a girl boss and everything like that.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a bit of a missing gap there, or is there a big world that we don't know about as men?
Might be.
Yeah.
Girls Club.
Is it?
No.
Secret meetings. Tell
I
us.
want to know. Look, I suppose my journey into that kind of female entrepreneur world has really been guided and inspired by Ernst & Young. So, accounting firm, top end of town. They have a program that's open to male and females called Entrepreneur of the Year. It's the best program ever. It's an awards thing, but it's not a normal awards thing where you fill out a submission and you just rock up on the night and then you never see anyone again. Ernst & Young literally create a community of entrepreneurs and really get behind them and help them and give them extra advice. And there's a lady in Brisbane, actually, who you guys maybe should interview.
Yeah.
Her name's Desley Grandy, and she's a tax partner there. And she pioneers this program for both males and females. But she also pioneers another program called Entrepreneurial Winning Women. So that's another global EY program promoting female entrepreneurialism. But like, that's like, for me, look, if I can help anybody, if anybody reaches out for me, I'm always there. I'm also super fortunate because I have a business where pretty much all my team members are female, right? That's just the nature of our industry. And I get to be around like my team every day, and they're awesome chicks, you know, and I know that they're working with me for now, but who knows what they're going to do in the future. And I think it's having our women and our daughters and our partners around people that they can talk to, be inspired by, ask questions, go for a coffee with, go and smash a load of beers on a Friday night with, whatever. And it's being around those conversations, isn't it? And bringing up those conversations and getting women excited about being in business and what they can do and what they can bring to the table. So I think it's just having that culture. For me personally, it's about how can I not just how do I touch people regularly and help them and make them feel good about being a female entrepreneur if that's what they want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing what like business can do for you lifestyle wise as well. Like you're saying, having to ask the boss for the Friday off. Like I know that I might work later at night and not have that time during the day. I'm doing something else, but it's like such an amazing perk of running a business. But even Declan's partner, Deanna, she's been doing it a year now in an interior design business. And like the start, you could tell that like the confidence was kind of like, I'm going out on my own. I don't know if I can do this, blah, blah, blah. But she's selling like more work than I think I could ever sell in that industry. Like I'm realizing just like how powerful it is when someone gets behind themselves, especially a female, and they're kind of pushing forward. I'm like, I've got more belief in her business than my own. I'm like that could be so good.
But you know what? Sometimes people, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you almost just need somebody to say to you, it's going to be all right. Just do it. Just go do it. Go do it. Go hard. Give it a go. You know what I mean? Or you can do it. Just friggin' smash it out. Just do it.
Who was that for you though? Was that just your own voice in your head? You had the kids and it was just all the pressure and you just made it work? Like I'm still like the whole accounting side of your business, like the fact that you grew to 3 stores in 18 months, like a lot of people get into like beauty or cafe style businesses where they don't look at the produce cost of materials and how much they use per appointment. And they go, I think $100 sounds like a lot for this treatment. So that sounds good. And then they get 6 months down the track and they all this tax and they're already backwards before they've even started. Like, especially leaving school at 16, like where did that all come from? Was it just like you knew you couldn't stuff up? Like it was too much pressure?
I think I knew from just even like my tech background that, there was accounting packages out there. I knew there was metrics and KPIs and things needed to be measured. But if we just bring it back to its very simplest form, like I don't think business needs to be that complicated. And I actually do think as your business grows and you get more people and advisors involved, people want to make it more complicated than it actually is. So what is business about? It's about you selling a service or a product. How much does that service or product cost you? How much do you sell it for? And what are the costs involved along the way? And how much profit are you going to make? That's it, right?
Yeah.
That is it. And you can dress it up in any other way that you want, but that's what it's about. It's about buying and selling and making a profit. And look, business needs to make a profit, right? Otherwise we wouldn't survive.
It's a charity,
and we can't employ people and we can't give people job security and all of those things. But yeah, I think it's as simple as that. And look, in 16 years of business, COVID has just been like disastrous for us.
What was that like when, because April was a terrible month for us because being in recruitment, that's the first thing to go. Jobs paused. Then everyone's like, we had pipelines, just people pulling out. We had client meetings and literally on Friday, then the next Monday, they're pulling out like, oh, those 4 jobs are not going ahead. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? And then you guys were in such turbulence, like you can open, you can't, you can do this, you can do that. And it's like you're just watching the news every day and then you're compounding. Look, what was your thought process? You're like, you would have a lot of like 150 people. How many people are in each store? Like,
yeah, so close to 200.
200, yeah.
Company-wide.
Relying on the results of what come out of ScoMo's mouth.
Yeah.
Like, what was your thought process when that was happening?
Well,
or was it like?
It was just, I was just rocking up for work every day and probably still am, just going, what's going to happen today? How's this going to pan out? Because our business went from, say, collectively turning over 2 million a month to like nothing. And the first thing that I did is I said to my accounts team, pay no one, like as in, suppliers, not team members. It's like, pay no one. Because it's like shit, all of a sudden it's not like your revenue's been halved or you're trading at 30%. It is gone. There is no money there. And you don't know when you're going to reopen and you've still got all these fixed expenses. It's like, whoa, let's just put everything on hold. But I think at that time, look, I'm really fortunate in that I have like this awesome team of, male and females, but predominantly females who are just like get up and go and super sassy. And we sat down and we were like, right, what are we going to do right here, right now? We already had the hand sanitizer in the pipeline because we kind of saw what was going on in China. So it's about bringing that to market quickly. We also brought a few other online initiatives to market quickly. But that was my direct team at a head office level. With the rest of our team at a clinic at the therapy level, we just had to stand everyone down. And that was just horrible. I remember walking to work that day and just thinking, God, I just never thought in being in business that I would experience this day where we've got to go in and just tell people they don't have a job anymore. And there was a lot of fear around, I think, at that time, more so than there probably is now.
Yeah.
But, just a lot of our team have been with us for years as well. So, so we're grown up with them, seen them get married and have their kids, and the whole fearful piece around it was just horrible. And it sounds easy to go into work and stand people down, but when you've got to stand, 65 people down or whatever, that's a lot of one-on-one face-to-face meetings to have and to go through individual circumstances with, and then for us not to know when we could re-engage those people. Like when we first closed, I honestly thought we were going to be closed for 6 months. I just thought we were going to be closed forever. Anyway, we were only closed, I think it was for roughly about 7 weeks. And in that time, the government said, hey, we've got this JobKeeper thing. So we had to kind of sit back and look at how we then implemented JobKeeper. And look, anyway, I won't go into like heaps of detail, but I'm sure, for any business out there, it's just been a nightmare. It's been a HR nightmare, just trying to make sure everyone's looked after and comfortable and feeling good about the process and supported. Financially, disaster. But thank God I have a good relationship with the Commonwealth Bank and places like that. And just now, we haven't traded out of it yet. We're just, trading out of it.
Back out of it.
Yeah.
It like with something like that, is it like, am I silly to say like, is the stress the same as when you start as it is now, or is it really, can it compound? Like to me, just hearing that makes me anxious. Like I've had to fire 2 people before in the same week, and that was like a big deal. To hear you have to sit that many people down, like I remember, like I guess we're very lucky and fortunate. We have very steady cash flow because of how we like sell our products. So I knew that we were fine, but our customers were in like tough spots. But to hear that, it's like, how do you manage that? Like, is it you've built it up over years? Like, I'm talking to you now and you're like, you're a regular person, but I'm hearing about your problems and I've thought about my problems. I'm like, I'm not dealing with shit.
Yeah.
like, do you go home and have a drink? Like,
Yeah.
what?
How do you
You're
feel
explaining
off?
it so
Only on
normal, but
Friday.
I almost don't believe you. I'm like, this is nuts.
I think, look, what can you do? Look, obviously
Yeah.
there's been moments where super stressed, super anxious, worrying about it, not being able to sleep. But at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control,
Yeah.
right? And it's just, it's a process, right? And the only way that I could kind of deal with it was I was thinking other people are going through this right now, and just having an awesome, team around me. And everyone's going through this together. It was kind of refreshing in some ways that nobody knew the answers. Like that there was no magic wand. Nobody knows the answers. Everybody's going through this, and we just got to deal with it together. The piece with 23 different landlords, all, with different deals. Some landlords going, hey, have 6 months rent free. Others going like, not a dime. Was challenging and still continues to be a bit of a challenge. But they do say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But yeah, I think it's part of the process. I'm also lucky that I have a lot of really good friends who own their own business as well. And over the 16 years in business, it hasn't all been roses, right? Actually, I'll tell you the biggest thing that prepared me for COVID. So a couple of years ago, I broke up with my partner. It wasn't my ex-husband, wasn't the father of my kids. And he litigated me for 18 months, 398 legal letters later and 4 court appearances. And I tell you what, at the time, I hated that process. I hated it. Probably the most stressful time of my life. But at the end of that, what has that done for me? I don't think anything can faze me after
Your
that.
tolerance is like here.
Yeah.
So someone's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's this problem. And you're like, oh, that's like this level compared to that. You're like, as long as it's not bad as that.
At least you can relate to people now, like with COVID. But with that, I don't know, like I was just doing the maths, 98 letters times between $500 and $1,000 each.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
that's
a big
lot.
number.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
No one can relate to you in that sense. You would
Yeah.
be losing your mind. Like nothing
Yeah.
frustrates me more than like you have your own problem and
Yeah.
no one can relate to you, that festers. But this is like
Yeah.
everyone's going through it. You're like, well, we'll just carry on.
Yeah, that's right. and, you know, that level of litigation plus running your business as well. So as much as I hated it, you know, they say every cloud has a silver lining, right? I'm pretty almost now equipped to represent myself.
Some clouds you just don't want to drive through.
I would have done anything to avoid that cloud. But I tell you what, that's the truth. And that's why, even though COVID's been shit, it's been horrible, it's been hard work, I understand now everything is a process, right? Doesn't matter what you do, setting up a business, having a baby, raising a family, like everything's a process, right? And there's no magic wand, and you just need to go on the journey and do the best that you can do and be the best person that you can throughout it.
I think I'm just looking for some secret answer where I'm like, surely it's not like this. Like, I'm waiting for you to say it's because I can fly that this is why. I'm like, I knew it. I knew there was something you weren't telling us.
And what do you think for the younger generations? Like, you've got kids our age, and they would have seen mum always have it together. Like, mum's successful, mum's with EY, mum's doing this, and then everything's flipped on its head. It's like, well, mum, like, there's so much uncertainty now. If mum didn't get it right, what are we going to do?
Yeah, there is. It's interesting.
That's because of COVID, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like through that period.
Yeah, I think it's awesome having the kids because they're the support network, you know? They are part of my support network, and that's how you get through shit, right? It's networks. So who are your networks? Are they your family? Are they your friends? Are they your mates? That's how we get through situations, learning from other people. Hey, my son doesn't often pay me too many compliments, but he did pay me a compliment throughout COVID. And he said, Mum, I want to be just like you. He said, when I think about you, you're just like this beautiful sports car traveling along, and, you know, COVID and all the shit that hits you is like a fly hitting the windscreen, and you just like turn those window wipers on and swat that shit away. He's like, that's what it is. You move forward and you don't look back. And
yeah, like that mindset. Like, I'm like, because I get, like, you might have
I can feel it. Like, even you just discussing this, I'm like, I could not throw anything at you. You'd be like, oh, like, make an excuse. I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to get away with any bullshit.
But even like, I struggle with my emotions. Like, I get really like amped up and hyped up, and then you get real negative, and I'm sort of trying to plateau with that. But how, like, to get that mind frame, it seems like anyone that's successful has that box ticked.
Yeah.
And they're just tough as nails when it comes to their head. But fighting your own head can be sometimes the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, it can. Have you ever ran a marathon?
No.
Yeah.
I've run long distance, but not like a set
I've done
marathon.
a triathlon.
Yeah.
Gatorade
Just threw it in.
Oh, you guys love this. I like ran for years and years, but only like 5-10 kilometer stuff. I've done CrossFit-y stuff and all of that. And about 3 or 4 years ago, some friends said, let's run the Gold Coast half marathon. And I was like, oh, fine. I've never run more than 10Ks before. So I ran the Gold Coast half marathon. And then I have this crazy friend of mine, Dave Kelly. And so we ran the half marathon, did it was all good. And this crazy friend of mine, Dave Kelly, said, the Brisbane Marathon's on in like 4 weeks. Do you want to run the Brisbane Marathon? And I was like, but we haven't trained for it or anything. I think, you know, aren't you supposed to train for stuff like this? And he was like, look, I never want to run again in my life, and I really need somebody to run the Brisbane Marathon with. And I was like, I'm not running it with you. Like, find somebody else to do it. Anyway, he couldn't find anybody else to do it, and he like totally guilted me into running a marathon with him with no training. So obviously, as I said, I'd always ran a bit. And anyway, we set out and we started running this marathon, and we had a game plan that we were just going to maintain exactly the same pace. We weren't going to stop at all. And we had the tunes on, we were chatting to each other, and I was along the marathon, along the way, I was kind of joking, kind of going, hey, has anyone seen the wall? Anyone seen the wall around here? Because, you know, when people run marathons, they hit the wall.
They hit the wall.
Yeah, and I was like, that is not happening to us. Anyone seen the wall? We're running along. And
what K is this? You're 10Ks in, you're like, I'm feeling good, like...
feeling awesome about life, owning this shit. And anyway, you know, at the beginning, a lot of people had, you know, set a pretty good pace and had run off, and we were just plodding along at our set pace that we agreed to. And at about 33 kilometers, I just hit the wall. but I hit the wall and
So you got
I just
9 to go. Is it 42 Ks?
It's 43.
43.
Well, so I
10
think
to
it's
go.
42 and a
Yep.
half. Yeah, and I just always remember the week before I was talking to Glenn Richards, actually, who owns Pet Barn or, Green Cross Vets, and he'd run marathons, and he'd said to me, Francesca, whatever you do not fucking walk. Whatever you do not walk. Just keep on going. And I did. Unfortunately, I was with my friend Dave Kelly, who talked me through it, and we just kept talking and walking, and then he hit the wall a few kilometers later, and we kept going. And I would describe those last 10 kilometers as almost like being not in like childbirth, but a little bit. You're in pain. Your body is in pain. It is killing. And guess what? All you need to do to stop that pain is stop. Right? It's really easy.
Did you get a second wind?
No, I did not get a second. Oh, it's got a second wind about 100 meters from the finish line. But I did it, and we did it. Dave Kelly and I did it. We completed this marathon. And I think, since I didn't do a lot of research on marathons before, but did a little bit after, it is just all about that mental toughness, right? It's about not giving up. It's like when you train or you do anything, or you're lifting weights, or you playing tennis. It's just about like never giving up. It's like, I'm not going to give up. It's like that Will Smith says that quote that I absolutely love. It's like, you might be smarter than me, you might be better looking than me, you might have more money than me, but get on a treadmill with me and one of two things will happen. I will die or you will get off. Yeah. And it's and I think so many people quit early.
They quit too soon.
Yeah.
How good are the memories when you don't quit? As in, like, you look back at that marathon and maybe you wouldn't sign up for one tomorrow, but remembering the one where you finish, like, that's a way better feeling than if you had opted out at 30 Ks.
Yeah.
It's like the memory that creates the feeling of like, if I can do that, then I can do this other thing way easier.
Yeah. And when I was going through that wall experience, all of these other people around me were walking as well. And I just thought, you know what? I haven't run 33 kilometers. I haven't run this far to like quit now. I said popping the ibuprofens and the the painkillers as I was running along.
That bad?
Yeah.
So you bring them with you because you know that's going to happen.
I took them, yeah, as well as the gel packs, because you're in pain, right? It's not really the most natural thing to run a marathon.
Especially with no training. That's like half of what Goggins did.
Yeah, that Goggins guy, he's crazy. I'm not crazy like him.
I'm listening to his book at the moment, and it's that spark of energy, that second win of when say someone is trying, like when we run up Mount Cootha, and it's like, I'm going to beat you, and it's like you just have to last that second longer. Yeah. And psychologically, that person wigs out and gives up.
Yeah.
So true. We'd feel it. If he was ahead of me and then he made it look like it was a little bit easier than it was, but he gets to the end and he's like, oh, it's just as fucked as you were. And I'm like, what? You look fine. And in my mind, I'm like, how is he doing this?
Yeah, but I think it is the competitiveness against other people, but it's that competition you have against yourself, right? It's like, I'm doing this for me because I don't want to give up. Like, I don't want to have that feeling. Like, do you
reckon you've got that or you don't?
I think it's being a Liverpool supporter, isn't it? It's like, we are winners. We are champions. Jurgen Klopp. Like, bring it home. Like, it's like, you do not give up. You do not quit.
How have you have you like instilled that in your kids? How have they found that for themselves?
What do they do?
Yeah, they actually both work with me.
Yeah,
really?
So I'm super lucky, hey?
Yeah, nice.
Super selfish parent, get to see my kids all the time.
Trust is huge as well. Like, you haven't had to, like, you've built that trust obviously from birth, but like having someone that can just tell you how it is because they're family. Yeah,
that's right. Look, I love my kids. I'm like friends with them. If I book to go away on a holiday, next thing they're like, we want to come to. Okay.
They wait for you to book and then go on, add another ticket.
Just want to hang out with my mum,
How long ago did you do the marathon?
I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't even that long ago. So I'm 48 at the moment. So it's like 44.
I didn't want to ask, but that's amazing.
Marathon.
Like, now you make, like, after this, I want to go run a marathon.
Yeah.
Run a marathon and get some peels on my face.
That bit of an A peel, I'm telling you, bro, it will change your life. It will change your life.
Far out.
How have you created like such an amazing culture at work as well? Like, that was something that everyone like overhyped. And I remember like one of the big reasons I started my business was I didn't like my boss. I was like, I hate working here. We're all characters and no one says what they mean.
Each other, yeah.
We're all lying to each other. We're all characters. We're all just here to push some pens, make some money and then go home. And then when I started my thing, I was like, I want to be upfront with people. I want to like create an environment where they can like talk shit about me and I walk in, they continue to talk shit about me because like that's the culture. How have you like, especially with how many people you have, like how have you kind of curated that, if you will? Because you have to weed out the people that aren't the right ones, if you will, and then continue to reinforce a team. And you know that sometimes like the team know the issues before you and they need to feel comfortable to bring them to you so you can solve them. Like that's what our jobs are.
Yeah. Look, I love having a team around me that challenges me and challenges the status quo. I don't want same old, you know? Have we created that environment? Look, I'll be honest, like that environment doesn't always go smoothly. And you guys would know, you've got your own businesses as well. But yeah, I just want a culture where we're always learning, always innovating, always open to change. I think my problem is, and my team do a really good job at managing me in this, like of course, I have ideas. Everyone has ideas. I do try and not share every single idea I have with the team. Otherwise, that would be terrible. But once we do settle on something, I do really like things to happen and happen quickly. And the team constantly have to manage my expectation on execution and delivery and getting things right. But I think that's where we work really well together. And I think my team love having, I would say, like I love them having the freedom to be creative and create new things, challenge the status quo, you know, develop new products. It's definitely about us working together as a team. It's not even just about work either. Work isn't just about work, right?
Well, a lot of it isn't. Like you go to a client meeting and I'm in recruitment and you talk about the job brief, you find out what they need. Most of the time you end up talking about sport, bikes, like whatever they're, and I think that's a lot about when everyone's in that synergy and everything's flowing and they're talking about random stuff, that's when like the best stuff happens.
Yeah.
When
and look, my team are like my family, really. They're, you know, both, as I said, both my kids work in the business as well. But my team we're like a family. We go through shit together all the time, whether it's relationships or kids being born or stuff happening. But I think, and look, we go through the fun stuff as well, like going out for, you know, mega tons of beers on a Friday night and running together,
beer?
training. I actually love Tui's New, and I also
do you
love
like sours?
4X Gold. I don't like any
can't do
craft
sours,
beers.
yeah.
I do not do fruity beer. I call it fruity beer. I hate craft beer. Just can't get my head around it.
Have you tried the 4X Dry? The new one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, with them at the AFL, they knock you over. They are the new heavies, and they're not light on.
Yeah, but I just love like a refreshing Goldie. Actually, when we have our Brazilian Beauty ball, I always have a champagne glass, and so I don't
Fill it with gold.
I do. I literally do. So with 4X Gold. So there's I'm directed on that by my team, obviously, so I don't get too drunk too early. I'm only allowed middies until a certain point in the night. But yeah, Tui's New. What beer do you drink?
I don't drink.
He doesn't drink beer, doesn't play sport.
I'm an oddball. I'm like way out. Yeah, I know.
No.
And left school early. I'm just really, I've lost deals because of that. Like I really have. Like someone's like the Broncos something or other. I'm like, can't even lie to you. I got no idea what you're talking about.
I love beer. Just reinforcing that again. And again, I think that's my background and where I'm from, right? We all go to the pub on a Friday night. We don't go to the pub every single night, but Friday night drinks and that socialization. And I think that winding down and creating, again, it's part of that creating the networks and the friendships that support you through the tough times, you know. But yeah, absolutely love it.
What's for you next? Like, because you're creating products and stuff, and this is our perspective, and I'm sure it's the same with your mindset. I think Australia is positioned in the best spot for this like world recession recovery. Like, I think a lot of people are going to want to move here. A lot of people are going to want to start businesses. Even just the other day, went to the bank and the lady working there said they've had a record number of new businesses open up. I hear stuff like that and I'm kind of like, we're set to have like a huge recovery in Australia and it's going to be like the best place to live on earth.
Yeah, I think I saw the news a couple of days ago saying they've got those 2 new vaccines that they're hoping to have out by Jan.
Did you get the jab? Did you get vaccinated if they were going to do it?
I want to check out some of the deets on it first. But yeah, why not? I mean,
What's going to happen?
yeah, that's right.
You either fly or you don't.
Yeah, that's right. I know, and there's all the conspiracy theories around it as well, isn't it? The jab and all that.
COVID made me realize, like, the government has to be so careful what they tell us because people lose their minds. And I realized, I was like, why can't they just be more honest? Like, why can't we have more politicians that are really honest? And this kind of highlighted, like, I'm not a huge fan of Scott Morrison, but he handled it surprisingly well. Like, it's a lot of pressure, especially when you have all these different opinions from all these different states. Money's involved. People get very antsy when a lot of money's involved and if it's going to benefit them or not. So surprisingly, he handled it quite well, but you can see if they like share everything, then they just open themselves up to more criticism. So it kind of like highlighted that fact. Like we have a politician coming on this show and I'm so excited because a lot of politicians don't do long format. Like I think Alice Stander, how do you pronounce the name? Alice Stanger? Palaszczuk?
Well, Anastasia.
Anastasia.
I don't think she does.
Is she coming on?
No, she's not. But I don't think she does.
We've got what's his name? Bob Catter's son.
Bob Catter's son. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Robbie
Catter.
Yeah.
But I don't think.
Cool.
But not many politicians. I think Joe Rogan opened that format to having them on his show. But not many do it because they want to be quite like structured and rigid and in a format that they can control. So something long format, as you can see, you put the headphones on. It's hard to kind of start telling lies or scripted stuff because you're kind of having a conversation.
Yeah.
But I kind of, like opened the curtain a bit where I was like, wow, like people lose their minds when the information's kind of put out and everyone just goes crazy.
Yeah. I think the whole I think ScoMo's handled it well. There was no roadmap, right? I think the biggest thing about COVID is just fear. It's like fear of the unknown, fear that we haven't been here before, fear of, this is going to kill everyone or change our lives. And, fear is a crazy thing, hey? And, when it's guiding people's emotions.
I also think Trump's doing at the moment. He's almost using fear to win him another election.
Yeah.
He's like pinning everyone against China more, which not to say there isn't the problems, etc. But it is amazing that he's using his base to kind of create as much fear as possible that he's the only one who'll get him out of it. And then, creating so much divide.
It's crazy. I can't even believe that political situation in the US at the moment. Like Joe Biden or Biden. It's like 82 years old.
Yeah.
Can't even sign up.
Do you think there's a point where
US.
someone's too old to do a job?
Yes.
And that's that?
Yeah, I think to be US president, imagine the schedule that you would have as US president, it'd just be exhausting. And I think I reckon the US is awesome. I love the US. I've worked over there. I love visiting there. And the people, they have the best universities in the world. And considering, the amazing people that they have and expertise, it's like, come on, guys.
How did this happen?
Can we just get younger, better people? Like, can we? Because there's a lot of them in the US.
But I suppose what's the draw card to get into politicians? Look how influential your life's become because of business. Why didn't you go into politics? You know what I mean? There's what's the draw card? And our politicians, are they becoming, the best of a bad bunch? Because people would rather run businesses. You can probably have more influence by running a major successful company. Like imagine the influence that Apple or those major brands would have on people as opposed to, Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's such a shame, hey?
Yeah.
It is such a shame, but it just seems a bit of a circus. But I think as well with the news, we're drip fed, right?
100%.
We totally
get told what we think, like it's all, we don't get the truth. There's a lot more going on.
Yeah, that's right. And that kind of frustrates me a little bit.
Well, we see different realities. Like I have a roommate and we've compared our social media feeds before and he's on the right side and I'm on the left. I'm like, this is bizarre. Because like his memes or whatever is posted that's political, I can kind of see the point they're making, but then mine are just like the polar opposite. And we're both being fed these two different realities and then you go and converse out in the world and you meet someone that has a completely different point of view. And you're kind of like, how did you even come to that point of view? Like, where have you been finding this information?
Yeah. It's crazy, hey?
And do you think it's important to get involved in a lot of different areas? Like love getting on the beers, running, beauty, you sling some pretty good balls as well in the past. You've sold some big balls. So, there's a lot to this picture. Do you think it's important that we dabble in all different areas? And is there anything that you do that's, not within the status quo that's a bit unique?
I did something really, look, I think diversity is important in any business, not crazy diversity. I think it all, has to follow a flow or it needs to be a tax write-off, one or the other. But I did a crazy thing a few years ago. So I have this little dog. Her name's Scampy. She's super cute. She's about 3 kilos. She's a Bitzer. She's a mongrel. She's not the most beautiful dog in the world. And she's like 14 now. And a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, what do I want in my life? Like, I'm not really a materialistic person. I'm more about people and experiences and enjoying the moment. And I absolutely love my dog. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to get my dog cloned.
I told you. I told you, and you didn't believe me. I said I found this story, and yeah, Francesca gets her dog's cloned. So
I was going to get my dog cloned, and I was a friend of mine.
This is clickbait.
Yeah, a friend of mine was kind of a journo for the Courier Mail, and she's like, "Oh, let's do a story on this," and anyway, I was hoping to leverage that story to get a better price with the cloning agency. So they do it in 2 places now, in Korea and in South Korea, and they also do it in the US. And I was like, geez, it's like I do like a few beers, but I certainly don't drink every day. And when I calculated how much the cloning was and I built it out over a daily basis, it was like, I'm happy to spend $8 a day on having another one of my dog.
The rest of your life, or
no, just for the duration of the dog's life.
You get on the beers and think, what else can we clone?
Yeah. Well, look, get this. So this is really weird. So that newspaper article ran, and then this guy who is a world cloning expert contacted me because at the time I still owned my cattle farm. And anyway, he contacted me and he said, oh, I see you running this article. He said, I'd love to spend some time with you. And I'd even like to teach you how to clone. And I was like, no, is this guy like serious? Is he for serious? But I did. So what I did is we just worked because I didn't realize, because you say cloning and you guys are all like, whoa, that's crazy. Cloning is used all the time in animal production.
Oh.
All the time. It's like a regular thing. Even I was at an event and Dr. Ian Fraser, who invented the HPV vaccine. He's probably Australia's, I think, most amazing scientist. Anyway, he came over to me and he was chatting and he said, I think if you have your dog cloned, it'll have the same personality. And he was saying, in labs, they clone rats all the time. In food production, in beef, cattle production, cloning is used. So even though it sounds like crazy town, it's actually not that crazy town. And when you think about it, cloning is genetic replication. You're not manipulating the genomes or anything. You're not doing any manipulation. So it's kind of, you're just duplicating
copying.
it.
I love
copying it.
I love that these are side interests for you. Like, that's such a vastly different thing. And then the fact you're hanging out with scientists to talk about how it works and what they're gonna do. Do you follow stuff because you're interested in that space? Do you follow stuff like Neuralink and what Elon Musk is
Oh my
up to?
God. Yeah, I love Elon Musk.
Don't even get me started. Did you watch the hour-long thing they just put out?
I did.
With the pigs?
Yeah.
Where are we heading?
It's next level, isn't it?
When you start to free up time from your business and the stuff we do day to day, and you look at where we're heading, you're like, the next 10, 20 years are going to be wild.
Yeah, so I kind of look at Neuralink and think, well, what's the difference between that and us all carrying our mobile phones around 24/7? The biggest challenge we have at the moment is how fast we
can
interact.
absorb information. Yeah, exactly.
We're the slow wheel, aren't we?
Correct.
I don't know what's going to happen in future. I think as humans or humanity, we want to keep our individual spirit and what keeps us us. But technology's already in our lives. There's not a lot we can do about AI.
It's not slowing down.
No, AI is just going nuts. And who knows what it's going to look like in 5 years, right?
I just love the fact that they're starting, I guess, with disabilities and stuff, and then they're going to move on to the average Joe, if you will. But the fact that everyone's going to have such a better way of life through I've followed all this stuff so closely. The progress they're making, and even in quantum computing, just blows my mind. It's I'm like, holy shit! In the next 10 years, stuff is going to be absolutely crazy as soon as they make these next leaps and bounds.
I reckon less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Really, because these Neuralink's been going for a while now, and the advances in AI and VR and things like that, I think everything's speeding up.
And how do you filter that down then into your business? Like I sometimes I see this stuff and I'm like, am I sophisticated enough in my business? Like, should I be using more things and getting involved in more stuff? Like, almost at times I look at my own business like I'm just like a reseller of Google's products in a way. So you're like, and you look at these other guys and what they're doing, it's like, oh, there is such a gap. And I look at from me to you and I'm like, oh, there's such a gap. Like that, I'm not usually one to compare, but I'm just like, man, I've got some work to do.
I think it's going to be a combo of both though, isn't it? I think it's going to be the use of that technology. And I think it's always technology at the right time and for the right price. I think sometimes you can jump into tech too early, spend a fortune, not really know what you're doing, and then have to clean up after the party and be financially hurt by it. So I do think it's that. But I think also as humans, we want that interaction. Like
you need that. Like there's no computer that makes a choice for someone. Like there's no ideas, there's no creativity, there's nothing that can happen without people. And I think people skills is fundamental for anyone to be successful in life.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. And I think, during COVID, whilst a lot of people still are like Zooming, everyone's like getting into it at first. But then how nice is it to actually come out of the office like I have today, sit here, talk to you guys and actually see people in person. And shame it's not a bit later on in the day, otherwise we could be...
Oh, I reckon Green Beacon will be open.
Yeah. Only for fruity beers, though. No fruity beers, they know.
We'll go to BWS and get a carton.
Yeah.
We should have done that first. We'll redo the episode.
Just do Jimmy Brings.
Oh, yeah, we can order now. Tom, give him a call.
I'm not even kidding. Like when this show grows more, like we're like, we need a big studio and we want to have like beer fridge, everything set up. Because it's like, yeah.
I reckon this room's perfect.
It's good.
So just saying, you guys have got a great setup.
Yeah, we just need to get a beer fridge and get some Tui's or Forex.
But yeah, exactly right, Tui's. Just go Tui's if you can only make one choice. Coming back to that, like human and what's business going to look like moving forward, and is absolutely everything going to be online? I think people, as I said, that they're going to crave that experience.
They crave it now through COVID, and we still got the normal technology we've been using.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think when I was in China a couple of years ago, I noticed not even, and this wasn't even in the main shopping malls, like not the big places. This is normal, like kind of strip shopping or whatever. They had stores there, clothing stores there that you went in and they had all sizes. And, you go in and look and you go, oh, buy this. And they'd be like, no, you can't buy this. You just scan it and it gets delivered. So I think, more so stores and shops will become more experiential rather than holding stock. And I think for us as a business, we've just got to look at, what do our customers want and what kind of experience do they want with us, and do that, So it's just like any business. Ask your customers, what do you want? How would you like it? Would you like it like that or like this? What would your preference be? And then make it and serve it back to them.
It's not just the beauty consultation, it's the conversation they have and it's something to look forward to in their day. And
yeah. So get this, when we were closed for COVID, and this is a me and my team thing again, I'm like, look, we'll be doing Zoom consultations face-to-face with customers. They're going to love this. Customers are going to love it. And my team, who are obviously all a bit younger, were like, nah, DM. People just want a direct message. And I was like, no, they want like Zoom.
Force them to see us.
This is what we're going to do. It's going to be like this virtual beauty advice where people are going to Zoom in and we'll have the backdrops and we'll be doing all this. But again, my team were right. And the customers chose, right? They don't want to be Zoom linking in with us. So a few of them do, but not many of them.
It is interesting.
Customer appetite. So you can't just think I'm going to build it and people are going to want this stuff. It's all about what the customer wants.
I'm noticing that more and more. People like, I won't call it confrontation, but even like the car yards model is broken. People hate going to car yards and the guy walks out and you're like, oh, here I go. Like it's this.
Hey, I've been that guy before.
Oh, mate. I know what to say.
I saw a car yard yesterday. Actually, it's funny you should bring that up because I went past it and I was like, God, that just looks like a shitty car park.
They are.
It is. They're not there anymore.
But look
They're all
at Tesla. Have
closing
you
down.
been to a Tesla showroom yet?
I've test drove a Tesla.
How amazing is it?
Yeah.
The guy's like there to like ask you about your day and chat, and you do not feel any sales vibe at all. He's like, I could care less if you buy this thing. I'm just happy to be out of the office. Like, the whole model is flipped on its head, and they make more money than anyone. Like, their profit per car is so high. They don't have to deal with the dealerships. They don't have to deal with all the middlemen that take money out of it, basically. And then you experience that, and you're like, why couldn't every car yard be like this? Why does it feel like so hard?
That's because every car yard isn't filled with cars like Teslas.
Yes, true.
You know, that are absolute. Have you guys test drove?
I have. Unreal. The
never get one
autopilot
booked.
thing made me so uncomfortable in like I couldn't believe how quickly I gave away my decision making. I was like, I trust it to, we're on the highway. And I was like, this is so, like, it's like technology just kind of takes over a thing you're used to doing. And I'd already switched off from driving, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm being driven around. I'm like, oh wow, I really need to pay a little bit of attention here in case it doesn't work.
Yeah. Which one did you test drive?
The is it the X, the big full drive one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just did the S.
Yes.
Holy shit, they're fast.
I was in shock.
So quick.
Like,
And they feel so
my-
smart. Like,
Yeah.
you get in your car and you're like, oh, this feels dumb. Like, you have to do stuff. And there's so much space. Like, the car's physically smaller. Like, we've got a Santa Fe, like a soccer mum car. And, like, it's big, bulky. It's like a big SUV, 7-seater. And then you get in one of them. They're smaller, but there's more space
Yeah.
because there's no engines.
Yeah.
Just a little battery.
He's done a beautiful
I'm
job.
obsessed with
hasn't
Elon.
he?
The
Yeah,
amount
I
of
am
things
too.
he is like managing simultaneously, like not just one company. Like, I'm sure you heard his story about how he had like basically no money in either business, and it was like the last day before he got more funding, and he had to keep splitting up the funds, and he just like made it work. Like, talk about a dedicated guy and team. But oh my god, like I think about my problems, and you can stress yourself out before bed. But I think about that scenario, I'm like, oh my god, like
he just loves what he does, though, right?
yeah, it
like
really
an
is a humanity
engineer,
project. Yeah,
you know?
he's so involved in everything, and he's just so across so many things. But the fact
he
he's
didn't just wake up and become Elon Musk. Like, there was
course.
steps all the way through.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't just become Tom. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of steps along the way. Because he was a bit of a unique human. I think he
sure.
sold a software thing at like 12.
PayPal.
Yeah. Yeah. Set up PayPal in his
Do you think people
garage.
really underestimate what they're capable of?
Totally.
People can do way more than what they think. Like, there's
I
always a bit of
think a lot of people just don't get sometimes pushed a lot or have a lot of hardship. So it's like coming back to what we were saying before, I think it's just like quitting or it's too hard.
You almost look for hard things now. You're like, the harder things get, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, that's
Like, torture yourself.
Give me the hard
Yeah.
stuff. I don't want to
Give it to me.
Yeah, no. I kind of I suppose I do like a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I actually sometimes I like it as well when other people tell me about their problems or if they've got something to sort out. And I can, even though maybe they're having problems or difficulties, I feel myself getting excited because I'm like, we can,
Look at it like this. What about if
Yeah.
this happened? Or
yeah. And I think it's good. Like, there's always a solution, hey.
You think it's hard to see your own problems sometimes?
100%. Yeah. And look, I mean, when we're saying problems, I'm relating to, just business problems or money because that's all it is, right? Money, business, like the important things in your life are, your friends, your kids, your family. That's me. As long as that's okay and everyone's happy and alive and well, I don't really care what else goes on.
How do you keep the glasses full in all those areas? Or do you have to tip some out in some states into other areas? Sometimes some go empty, then you got to come back around.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. How do I do that? It's challenging. And, sometimes I wish I, spent more time in whatever area. But you can't beat yourself up, hey? It's just
You
like,
just got to do what you
live
can
for
do.
the moment, do what you do. I try and, stay busy most nights, whether I'm working out or catching up with friends. I hardly ever like to eat at home. I like to eat at other people's houses where I get free food.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
It's a great strategy.
Especially through COVID. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
God.
if you were 18 again, would you have done anything different, or 18-year-old self? What would you say?
My 18-year-old self, you guys don't even want to know this. You don't even want to know it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to prefix with this. I spoke at an event I don't know, maybe it was 6 months ago, and it was actually quite a big event. I didn't realize it was going to be, and there was some kind of quite influential people there, and they'd asked me this question, and they'd asked me a load of questions actually, but I only read that question. I had it for like 2 days, and was thinking and thinking and thinking about it, and the talk that I was doing was going pretty well. So I said to people, and I'd say to you guys, you don't mind if I swear. And honestly, the absolute true advice I would give to my 18-year-old self would just be to go out and fuck more people while I was young. Like,
I was not expecting that.
Seriously.
Really?
Only because.
Why?
Because, I got into a relationship.
And you just want what you didn't have?
Yeah, and I can't honestly, I'm pretty happy with my life, my friends and everything. And it's like, and I could do all the normal answers. I could say, hey, work harder, or don't do this, or COVID's coming, or, always believe in yourself, or all that crap. But that's the honest to God truth. I didn't go out, and I'm not going to go out and have sex with loads of different people now, clearly. But when I was younger, I wish I'd said that to my 18-year-old self.
Because when you're younger is like the best time, I guess. And then you get out of the way in a way.
Yeah, but you do it. Yeah, but then you do it and you're like, there's nothing better than being with someone that you love, and then you have kids and you're like,
oh, sure.
This is epic.
I wasn't.
They are funny stories, though.
I wasn't going to do it for years. It would have been good, maybe.
Just a couple of weekends.
Just a few.
Yeah. Let's have 8 2-weeks.
Yeah, so I think what we've done is we've
500.
I think what we've done is we've just projected our own thoughts.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, that wouldn't have been good. And you're like, wait, I meant here and there. We're thinking like, 7 days would be good.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. Nothing better than to be with an awesome partner that makes you super happy. But
he's just sucking up. She's just out there. And
that's the case, mate. When you find love, you'll know.
Hasn't he found love yet?
He's yet to find a girl, so we've got to get that first.
Step at a time. It's like business.
This podcast might help you.
I don't know. I don't think I'd set out with that intention.
Promote us a bit. Yeah. I'm just trying to really live through Tom what I wish I did.
Yeah.
That could be
vicariously.
Yeah.
Well, you've inspired me. I'm like, yeah, you know what?
I'd need to fuck more.
Yeah. Well, just get out and do it. What's holding you back?
It's a mental block.
I've used the work as an excuse. Like I really have. Yeah, it's horrible. Like I'll be like stressed.
That's
or whatever.
not the case anymore.
No, probably not.
I've got a really good question for you, and I do say this to my team as well. I reckon it's really hard being a younger single person now, because years and years ago, if you wanted to meet somebody or go out, you'd kind of go out clubbing or you do whatever. Whereas now everybody's doing everything more from home, aren't they? So how do you meet hot chicks?
It has to be in person, and the pressure is definitely a lot more, if you will. But online dating is I'm not saying it's not for me, and I haven't done it before. But I just don't like how you meet people in that way. Yeah. They don't have to be shockers. They might be a really nice person, but the circumstance of how you met them, organic is the word I like to use. The best experiences I've ever had previously were girls I met at a cafe or just happened to get introduced through a friend running past them and got their Instagram or something. Yeah. Those are the best, most memorable times. The times I've used dating apps, I've kind of been like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
But how do you do that? At the moment, I mean, okay, so you've got a few cafes open, but, you can't stand up with a drink at the moment and all of that.
It's almost it's a combination.
Do you drink? You don't drink at all?
No, I drink sometimes, but, if I go out, I don't think I prefer not to drink because then you're all
probably
there.
Once a month, you'll have a big one? Once every 6 weeks? Yeah.
Maybe.
We're not that big of drinkers.
Yeah. But I think you're asking a good point. It's we're in that weird thing where, the chivalry is not dead thing where you have to actually bring back some of the old school ways of meeting people. Yeah. And it is it's a bit confronting, if you will. I haven't had to in years, and now I'm realizing I have to go kind of put myself out there more.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, for sure.
Because otherwise you just end up getting lost in work.
You can definitely double down on work. You can double down on work because it's the thing that, gives you so much, if you will.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was in that space for, years. I was just love my job, love my kids. Oh, got nothing to do on a Sunday. That's okay. I just work all day.
100%.
I love it. And there's nothing wrong with it.
It's not like you're sacrificing anything because you love it. It's
a
thing that you do.
And even my son actually used to say to me, Mum, stop it. All you're doing is working all the time. Don't you think you should do other things with your life? And I was like, like what?
What else is there?
Yeah, what else is there? I actually love doing this, but sometimes when you're in that rut,
It's a good reminder. I think the thing that I've experienced myself, like even meeting people like out that I haven't met before, and even just saying hello, you need to do it to get like the experience to make it comfortable for them. Because if you just scare the hell out of someone because you're like approaching them at a supermarket or you know them through a friend or something, you need to be calm and meet them calmly because then they're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't understand how you can do it. Like, unless it's through a friend of a friend. Because, like, if you're just cruising the supermarket or a normal cafe, you're not going to tap somebody on the shoulder while they're ordering a coffee.
Very
are they?
confrontational.
Like, hey, swing in. Like, nah.
Oh, yeah. It's hard. It's harder.
Yeah.
The Instagram
Podcast might be.
Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm expecting my DMs to blow up after this one.
How do you know her? Tom, why are we're getting all these really successful people on the show. Now we're getting 25 to 30-year-old women just from all backgrounds. Why is it guest
Why are they always
so much?
PTs? They're always PTs.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be great to get some young blood
Maybe you should
PT.
go get an IM injection at
Yes.
Brazilian Beauty, get
IM.
prepped up.
Oh my gosh. Have you guys?
No, I
so
just
you
saw
guys
that this
both-
morning.
Do you guys both train? Like
We
work
try
out?
to, yeah.
Yeah, look at this buddy. So we do these. So you can have all different types of vitamin injections, and you guys would have heard like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, like you can get on. Can't
Talk
you get on a
about
bus in Las Vegas and they can pump you
can.
up and then you're good to go again?
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you about this because this is. So I've had a few IVs. So with NAD, which is nitinamide adenine dinucleotide, and people go, what is NAD? So it's a vitamin B3 derivative. It's a naturally occurring coenzyme in your body. How does it work? Goes into your body and it actually works on your mitochondria that are mostly found in your head, in your chest, in your tummy. And it actually stimulates your ATP cells. ATP cells are responsible for energy in your body. So you can't overdose on it. You can't be allergic to it. Naturally occurring coenzyme in your body. But one of the downsides of NAD is, say if you went and had an IV, now whilst you're having the IV, you will feel like shit. You will feel like throwing up. You'll feel nauseous. It's pretty hardcore. So what we've done, like a few other people, is so an IV, it could take you 30 minutes. You might be there for 2.5 hours. And it's pretty intrusive. Having something IV'd into your arm, and especially if you're a bit squeamish or you don't like injections, it's pretty hardcore and you've got the big bag hanging down. So an IM, you can go in, take 3 seconds. It's like having a flu shot. You look the other way, you don't even feel it. As soon as you have it, you might feel like a little bit of nauseous or a bit headachy for half an hour. Then after that night, you'll either feel like energized or maybe you're tired or you're sleeping well. People get a whole range of different symptoms, but you will feel different. You won't feel like, oh, I had that jab and I don't feel any different. You will feel some sort of difference. If you train and work out all the time, you'll feel like when you work out, you're not going to feel like Superman, but you're going to just feel like the best version of you.
So is it filling in like the gaps almost of like vitamins you were missing, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just energy.
How often
It's
should you
just
have it?
energy. Look,
Or
depending.
you just always, you've got to on
Yeah,
tap?
can you do mine now for me? No, ideally I would have one every week or every 2 weeks. The thing I love about them as well, they're kind of anti-aging from the inside out. So they're not like an aesthetic thing, but they will give you that bit more energy. You know when you hear people going, oh, I really want to start getting back to the gym, and they just never do. But like they've got all the best intentions. Oh, I just want to go on this diet, or I want to change my diet, and they just never do. Having an NAD gives you just that bit more willpower to be able to do those things. The only downside of it is it's highly recommended not to have alcohol at all when you're having them. And that's just because the alcohol kind of kills it. So it's like, well, what's
What was
the
the
point?
purpose?
Yeah. So to get the best results, do that. But oh my God, like the best thing ever. And as I said, anti-aging from the inside out. So that cellular energy and repair, it's not just about your skin. It's just about your whole body.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing ever.
And how did, like, being a health business, like when we started in our businesses, health was boom, straight out the door. Forget about that, cancelled my gym membership.
Yeah.
But how did you stay focused on like making sure you're healthy.
Yeah.
Because I imagine when you go to these clinics and stuff, not that I've been to many, but it's like going to a PT. You want to get trained by someone who's fit, in shape, knows their stuff.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to a beautician place and you look better than the person that's doing your therapy and stuff. How did you manage that as well as doing the business and like?
Yeah,
it's always been a priority.
I think it's just about being interested in it, isn't it? Like when I set up Brazilian Beauty, I did choose the sector as well because I feel an affinity and an alignment with it. You know, I can remember my mum taking me to get my legs waxed when I was 13. I'm a girly girl. I love clothes. I love makeup. I love having my hair done. I love having my nails done. Like, I love that whole aspect of it. And I think for me and for our brands, sure, we might make people look a bit better, but I think what we do is we make people feel better. Like, you know, when we've got customers in and we've juiced them up and made them, you know, look beautiful and spent time with them and had that experience, they're walking out the door feeling like $1 million. You guys know what it's like when you go to a barber or you have your hair cut and you're like, boom, I'm shaking this.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but like you just feel happy and then you like put that onto other people who then are happy to be around you.
And that reinforces the reason why you did that, to make you look good, make you feel good.
Yeah. And look, from a personal perspective, as I said, I love all of that. And with the health and fitness and exercise stuff, I love it. Like, I love getting up early in the morning and getting out and doing stuff. And whether it's playing tennis or running or, you know, doing a class with a few of my friends, like, I friggin' love it. How good does it feel? Like, how good are those
when you feel good,
endorphins?
and then even you're strutting to a meeting and your shirt's tight for the right reasons, and you're like, nail it. You're like, yeah, we're on. And you've been to gym that morning. Like, there's no better feeling in combining the both. But when you you give away feeling good, then I think it sort of spirals the other way. Because you hear stories of like people get extreme health issues and everything just to be successful. Like, you don't have to do that to be successful. You can still manage both, you reckon?
Oh, 100%.
You need to.
And I think it should be part of your routine, right?
Yeah.
I see spending time on myself, say exercising, to me, it just should be part of your daily routine. It should be like having a meeting. It should be like taking a lunch break. You've got to look after the engine, right?
We had
You've got to look after your car.
We had Phil DeBella on, and he,
I
think, was it 13 years he did Belly Coffee? 13 or 15 years? 16 years, and then sold out and then lost 77 kilos after selling his business.
Holy shit, I haven't seen him since he's lost weight.
It is insane.
He's
and he is like,
jacked.
and he's had the experience of like all of the mental resilience of doing that for 16 years and selling it out, obviously, which is amazing. But you can tell like he's a lot calmer, and he definitely is like way more into mind body stuff than he would have been when he was back in the day, and just kind of like, you'd be more stressed. Like you see old photos of him and you're like, oh, he'd be a cranky boss.
Yeah. I think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
He's a legend.
He's
Like,
a legend.
He was our second guest, and he was just so nice. So had all the time in the world for us. Yeah, absolute legend.
Yeah. Did you see how far he's come now, losing the weight? And he's like had that epiphany. He's like, what am I doing? Like, that's the one thing I'm not controlling.
Yeah.
And for some people, like they say, oh, it's too late or whatever. But 77 kilos, like, oh my
That's a lot
God,
of weight.
so much weight.
He had to retrain himself to eat, because I had to psychologically retrain how I ate. Yeah. And he's not exactly the tallest guy.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, I couldn't believe it when I met him, because I'd never seen him before. And then I met him and he's like, yeah, I had 77 kilos on me.
Did he have
Stomach
any
operation?
surgery?
Yeah. He had I think they resized his stomach or did something.
Whatever that one's called. Yeah.
I think it's a sleeve. A gastric
Yes,
sleeve.
that's it.
I've seen, I know a few people who've had that surgery. Amazing results as well. It's good. And it does. It changes people's lives, right? They look completely different. They feel good about themselves. I think it's great.
And I think that's what you're kind of doing, is like you're giving some of that first step. Like maybe Phil couldn't have implemented the diet because he just felt like he didn't have the energy to.
Yeah.
Then the surgery enables him to kind of get the momentum going.
Yeah.
And then now when we met him that morning, he'd been to the gym at 5 a.m. and we're like, oh, wow.
Didn't even wake up at 5 o'clock that morning.
Yeah. You'd be up with your kids.
Yeah, about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Sage gets up. Yeah, she's up and at it. I'm a favourite at the moment, so it's just like, daddy. As soon as she wakes up, it's straight for me. And if I'm like, I have to brush my teeth while holding her, like it's not that I'm not complaining. Like, it's awesome. But yeah,
How old are your kids?
Archie's my stepson, so he's 10, and then Sage is 18 months.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So it's it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I think children bring so much joy, right?
And you can't understand until you have your own. Like as much as I go, like I send Tom photos, be like, can't wait for you to be a dad and silly stuff like that. And
Tom's
he's
like,
just
delete.
yeah.
No.
It's so
Not
different,
happening.
isn't it, when it's your own child?
Yeah.
See my child? This is what they're doing, and everyone's like,
Boom! It's so
I
exciting.
can tell
yeah.
how hard it makes him work though. Like when he started his business, I think I was like 2 years in, he started his, and that's when we met. Like I was like, oh yeah, plotting along, like I'll get started. And he's like, I gotta go. And I was like, why? I was like, what's with the intensity? And he's like, I got a kid on the way. Like I was like, that would make you stressed. Like,
But it's all good. Everything works out in the end. You realize how much little you were doing before you have children.
yeah, that's right. You're doing nothing. That's the stage in my life I'm at, obviously, because my kids are your age, and I can just do whatever I want now. I feel like
Do you
I'm
enjoy
a
being a young
teenager.
parent? At the time, we I'm missing out from my friendship circles and stuff.
Nah, I didn't at the time, but I think I was like in a fortunate position that,
You just find new friends.
yeah, and like I had a lot of good help and support at the time, so it was pretty good for me. But I've got to say, yeah, I do love my life right now,
And longevity wise, like you look great and you're almost, 48, almost
Yeah.
49. So
Yeah, I have a boyfriend.
you got a boyfriend as well. And I wasn't going anywhere with that.
Just saying. I was saying it in that jokey, like, I have a boyfriend.
Do you think training your lifestyle?
He's the luckiest guy in the world. Sorry.
What's his
it's
name?
Just a joke.
What's his name?
It's the guy I ran the marathon with a few years ago. His name's Dave Kelly.
Oh, you've been through the worst.
I call him Dave Kelly as well.
Dave
all
Kelly.
the time.
Dave
Yeah,
Kelly,
name.
dinner ready? Dave Kelly.
He's got a big job, that guy. He's got a big job on his hands. He handles it well.
I know he's trying to get you to come on the marathon. He's like,
Yeah.
come
You need
hang
to
out
burn
with
He's
me.
some
obviously just hitting on
Yeah,
me.
he's like, did you
Yeah.
ask anyone else?
Yeah.
Yep, they all said no.
I did that to Dee. Me and Dee were dating, and I got her to come on a 20-kilometer tough mudder.
Really? I
Yeah.
did Tough Mudder as well. It's good, hey?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And Dee's like, are you
were
serious?
you hitting on her? Is that why you asked her to go
Yeah.
to Tough? Yeah.
Well, I met her like 3
It's
weeks
like, let me
before.
show you how fit I am.
Yeah.
That's when I was going to the gym a bit. And it sealed the deal. We went through torture together.
Yeah.
Got through the 20 kilometers. Kids are easy after you do the tough
Yeah.
mudder.
Or not really.
No.
It's bloody hard work, hey? It's a massive lifestyle change. And I think there's a lot of pressure now.
It's not as hard as I think. It's probably because of Dee. It makes it easier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'd back that up.
But Sage sleeps through. It's
Does
she's
she?
always happy.
That's really good.
Yeah. Well, whenever I say that, then she stays awake for like the next 3 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as hard as I thought it would be
Yeah.
compared to the war stories that some parents tell you.
Yeah. So you're going to go again? You're going to have another
No,
one?
I'm getting.
No. It's so easy. Go again. No.
Nope.
I keep getting told to get a vasectomy, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's for another story. We talked about
See,
a lot of stuff.
you've brought more out of us in this show than any other guest. I'm like, is there anything? Should I tell more?
But don't you?
This is the effect you have on people. He's going to be really honest.
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm a grandmother. So my granddaughter Bonnie she's about
That's a lovely name.
Bonnie. I know. Her name's Bonnie Francesca.
Oh,
I didn't.
nice.
I wanted to get the first name slot, but I didn't. I only snuck in with the middle name for her because I really wanted her to be called Francesca. I'm joking. Anyway,
How old's she?
she's about 19 or 20 months
Oh,
now.
similar age to Sage.
Yeah, and she's absolutely gorgeous. But there's just so many changes, I think, since I had my kids when they were younger. Like, there's all these rules and regulations now when you have a kid and, you know, things you can do, things you can't do. It feels like, to me, everything's a choking hazard, from, like, baked beans to peas to whatever.
Yeah, so I'm sort of the parent that we make our food and just dish some off to her
Yeah.
and don't make a big deal about food and she just sort of eats it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we're just super relaxed about everything.
Mm.
I think some people, but then you go out with some other parents, like in Sage and Archie, they always come out in public with us.
Mm.
And then you go out with some other parents and they're like, come on now, just be good for me for this moment, please,
Yeah.
please. And the kid's like, because if someone's going, please be all right. Like, you're not all right. How am I going to be all right? So, like, I think that's been a big thing. When I look at other parents, I'm like, they're so stressed.
Yeah.
I think it's like anything. There's just so much information. They're overwhelmed.
Yeah. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, there's heaps of pressure.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun.
It's crazy. But when I do say to my daughter, oh, well, when you guys were kids, I just did this and I did that. My daughter's like, Mum, I don't even know how we managed to survive to like adulthood with a parent like you. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
You turned out fine.
Yeah, you're alive.
That's all I was expected to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is interesting, the whole parent thing.
That's
And a
good.
beautiful one.
Yeah. No, it's good fun.
Can I say I've really enjoyed this?
Yeah, it's
great.
a really good conversation. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Do you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. Get some tuies.
Yay.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.